Hi guys, welcome to this series on Introduction to Data Visualization with Python. The idea for this series and for this channel is to drive data visualization towards data science. Now, if it's your first time, check out the other videos. We have talked about univariate analysis using plots, and today we're going to be talking about bivariate analysis using plots. Now, I document as I write. So bivariate plots are used to analyze and visualize relationships between two variables. So the critical thing here is relationships between two variables. Now, it is critical to understand relationships between variables because they help us identify relationships, detect trends, compare groups, and understand hypothesis testing. One final part is called feature selection, when we're trying to identify the best features in a predictive model. Now, the first example we're going to be working with is a scatter plot, right? So an example of a bivariate plot is a scatter plot. Now, a scatter plot shows the relationship between two continuous variables. Two continuous variables. Right, and best use case is looking at correlation or trend analysis, but we'll be looking at the relationships between two variables. Now, what we're going to be doing is, as usual, we're going to import two data visualization libraries. So we have matplotlib, and we'll give an alias as PLT. Then we'll import cbon as SNS. So these are the two we're going to be working with. I hope I got this correct. Now we're going to be using a library, a data set called tips from the cbon dataset repository. So here we have tips. We call this the data of interest. This is tips. So I use the SNS load dataset, and we have tips. Tips is basically data of a restaurant activity, checking how much payments were made for food, the customers, their habits, time of day, and the total bill paid. To make it interesting, we just look at the first 5 rows. So this is tips. Right. Now, what we want to do is we want to talk about relationships. So here we're going to use the scatter plot to visualize the relationship between total bills and tip given by the person paying the total bill. Right. Is there a relationship? So we're going to find out. So the first thing I'll do is I'll plot a scatter plot here. I start off with sns.scatter. On the x-axis, I am going to feature total underscore bill. On the y-axis, I'll feature tips, which is this basically. Then I'll feature my data of interest, which is tips. Next, I'll put a title because that's important to have a title. And interestingly, I'm using the matplotlib to put on the title. So you see that I'm calling on PLT. So I call this relationship. And I look at total bill versus tip. Then the next thing I'll do is I'll look at the X label, which is typically the label we give to the X-axis. So that's total bill. Then we'll look at PLT dot the Y label. And here we have tip. Then finally, we are going to render the visual. And so here we have it. Now, I know you can look at this and think, okay, we cannot make sense of this. Where's the relationship? But if you pay close attention, if I drag a line from here onwards, you notice it seems to be like a positive relationship. Now I'm going to add something. I'm going to add a hue. I'm going to add a categorical variable to use to put a searchlight on the relationships. And I'm going to use the gender here. So here I use the parameter hue, and I use sex as a pivotal point to it. And now you will notice that all of a sudden it seems to make sense. So now you're seeing that we have relationships here. So now we're looking at the relationship between the total bill and the tip with respect to the genders that made payments for bills and tipped the waiters. So now this is a typical idea of what a scatter plot does and what a bivariate, or you can also say a multivariate analysis using plots is about. So take your time, watch this, and get a sense of how the code is written in order for you to understand how you can use it to solve a problem or extract an insight.